So we just got back from seeing a house.
Yeah.
I think it might be the one.
Really?
Yeah, so we're
Ooh.
gonna talk to David when he gets home and see if he wants to apply. But it's like the sign up for it is like within the same week that our lease ends, and the biggest issue we've been having is that all of the houses we've been looking at are too early. Like they want
Oh,
people to move in now, they want people to move in like 2 weeks, and our lease doesn't end until October.
right.
So,
Well, that works out.
yeah, I'm excited about it, and it's an old house. It was made in the 1950s,
Ooh,
but I
it's gonna
really
be
like the
creepy.
style of it. Like
Do you
it's
have
really
pictures?
cool. I do. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I was in love with this house. I think it's great. Hopefully it works out. We'll see. And also, I meant to say this to you obviously through text message or a phone call, but I've looked at the website. You've done such a good job on it. And I've seen like all the links you've put and all the videos and stuff we referred to and like the pictures. And I was going through it with Eric and David, and I think Olivia was here the other day and looking at it, and we were all just like, "Oh my god, it looks so good." Like
Thanks. I've been putting like
it's like legit.
a
It's like
ton of
a
time.
legit
Yeah.
website. Like it looks amazing,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to finish up the Patreon and see how that goes.
Yeah.
Um that's
Yeah,
about it.
that website has taken up a lot of my free time at work.
But once you do it, once you like do the backlog, then it won't be as hard to do like the
Yeah.
episodes as they come out. It's just the backlog. The same thing
Yeah.
that happened
Yeah.
when we recorded a bunch of episodes when we first started. There was just so much to edit.
Yeah.
Just so
Yeah.
much to
Yeah.
edit at once. And it's overwhelming because you're just like, why did I wait so long to do this?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm really proud of the website. I look at it from like the bat behind the scenes, and then I look at it like as a
I try
website, and I'm
to
like,
I tried to look at it as if I wasn't a part of it, and I was still like, this is pretty fucking cool.
I'm
Like,
so glad. I'm so
so
glad.
please take a look at it. Look at
Yeah,
all of Angel's hard work. It looks
it's
amazing.
it's
ghoulgaminggals.com.
ghoulgaminggals.com. Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited about
It
it.
just it looks really good, and please tell her all of the things. Tell her all of the compliments, please. And
I
I know
appreciate
we
that.
forgot last week. We have another sponsor.
Oh yeah, we have a sponsor. Oh my god. Yeah, so our sponsor this week, her name is Serena, and she is a beautiful, I don't know that we know exactly what she is, but she definitely looks like a collie. She was
I
rescued.
don't think she even knows what her dog
Yeah,
is.
so let me back up for just a second. So Serena is the forever friend of one of my best friends, Caitlin, who is an adjunct professor in Tennessee for percussion. And Serena is a beautiful collie looking dog, and she is so sweet. She is so well behaved. They
She is
together they go on all
adorable.
these adventures
You know
together.
how those that saying where it's like the dog looks like their owner? I
Yeah.
feel like Serena and
And Caitlin,
Caitlin
yeah.
just look like they're supposed to be together.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. And she has beautiful and adorable like ear fluff coming out of her
I
ears.
love it. It's kind of
So,
like, and that's why we drinks Christine's dog, Geo.
oh, Geo, yeah, yeah, they
I
do
feel
look
like
kind of
that
similar.
it looks like that.
Yeah. So, shout out to our sponsor this episode, Serena. We love you so much. And
We'll
to,
definitely post a picture of
yeah,
her.
of course. And she'll be on our special sponsor page on the website. So, yeah,
But I
she's
wanted
so
to
good.
say that before we forgot because I feel so bad. I was like, oh my god, I remember Serena.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's good dog.
But what were your highs and lows for this week?
So my highs today was like already a whole week in and of itself.
Honestly, I don't remember either of us being like, wow, this week was amazing because we were both fucking exhausted.
Yeah, yeah, probably my high this week was, I don't know, just that I woke up every day, which seems so ridiculous, but honestly, it's
Especially
been,
right now, things we can't take things for granted.
yeah, yeah, it's I'm so like mentally and physically and emotionally like tired right now that just like being able to get up in the morning is
You're like,
somehow
I'm
like a
alive. I
thankful
have a
miracle.
job.
Mhm.
I own a house. I have a beautiful wife. I have my fur babies. Life
Mhm.
is good.
Yeah, so it's really one of those things where my highs are that like I can count my blessings, and I when I sit back and think about it, I really am like hashtag blessed.
I mean, you have an amazing life. You have an amazing wife.
Yeah,
You have great fur babies. You own a house.
I
Like,
know, which is
fucking hell
I
yeah.
know that's every
Like, I
millennial's
say, oh, I
dream right
found the
now.
house, but I mean a fucking rental, you know?
Yeah,
Like, I'm like, I think I found the one. And
yeah.
you're like, you mean the rental?
Well, no, I think renting is
But,
exciting too.
I mean, and that's the thing too, is like, we're trying to find the last rental before we
Right.
buy a house, you
Okay.
know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
What was your low?
Well, I think I just touched on I don't have like even like a specific low. I just feel very stretched thin with
Life.
yeah, yeah. There's stuff that I like pertaining specifically to my job that I don't super want to get into only
Yeah.
because it's not my story to tell, but working at an old folks home, especially for me, because even though we have a podcast about like the dark side of humanity, like one
It's
of my
still hard.
personally like terrified of dying. Like that's not even a joke. I don't even know how to express that, but
No, I've had the same fear. Even though I've come more to terms with it as an adult,
mhm.
I still have like this terrible fear. My like consistent night terror that I had as a kid and a teenager was I would wake up and scream because I thought I couldn't breathe, which meant that I was dying. Like I'm terrified of the process of dying.
Yeah. So I'm working at a place where like people
Consistently die.
yeah, it's that's emotionally taxing on me. So while I
Absolutely.
can't get into any like specifics because it's not really my story to tell, it's just I am emotionally taxed. So, what are your highs and lows?
My low would probably be dealing with someone I care about, and he's dealing with the death of his father, which is
Right.
really rough. And I don't know how that feels because I don't have contact with my parents, and they very well could be gone. I have no idea. But dealing with that and seeing him process it, which is also my high because I got to spend more time with him because he's my boyfriend's best friend. And being able to learn more about him and him being able to learn more about me has been nice because obviously you want to be friends with your partner's friends.
Right, right.
But I would say that's my low just because it reminded me so much of the beginning process of like not talking to my parents.
Wow.
And I actually looked up my parents and I found someone with the same name in a different state with the same nickname
Hmm.
that passed away the same year I was married. And I was like, well, that's scary, but then I realized I had talked to my parents the year after I got married, so
Oh.
it wouldn't have lined up, but I was still like for a moment I was like,
For
"Oh my god, is my dad actually dead?" I
yeah.
was like, "Oh my
Wow.
god."
That is
But
scary.
which is a whole new thing in itself is that I don't know how I'm going to react when that time comes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't consider that a low, it was just more of like a realization.
Yeah.
My high is just having an amazing partner that has supported me. I've had really bad that's my other low is I've had really bad flare-ups for my disability
Yeah.
and I've been consistently just like conking out. Like I
Yeah.
cannot stay awake when we were in his hometown. I wasn't even in a house I was familiar with. I was in someone else's house on their couch and I fucking straight up died for 2 hours. I straight up died because I could not keep myself awake and coming to terms with being chronically ill sometimes fucking sucks, but I have an amazing partner that is super supportive and helps me so much in small ways without him even realizing it. Like I have really bad trouble in mobility like getting upstairs and we live on the fucking second floor now. So without even thinking about it, he like offers me his arm so I can be helped up the stairs. He helps me get in the car. Just small things like that where most people don't even think how much it affects me, but it does. And I'm very lucky.
Yeah. It's what this week our highs are just counting blessings and realizing how blessed
Yeah,
we are. So
we
I
are
get that.
very
I do.
we're very blessed, but I
Oh.
gotta Very interesting true crime story for you,
Oh,
though.
well, let's hop right into it then, because I'm ready.
2 in a row, bitch.
Or as the iPhone was like, my iPhone earlier today was like, two in a town.
That's it. 2 in a yeah. Why did your iPhone correct to 2 in a town?
I don't
It's like,
freaking know.
excuse me.
Like, we always joke, not so much on the podcast, but like in our real life, how I cannot speak English. Part of that is like when I'm texting, iPhone is just like, I don't know what you're trying to say, so I'm going to make some shit up. And I'm like,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
most of our inside jokes are because of typos.
That's so true.
I can't remember the one that was like super like famous for like the first year that you and Kay were together. I can't remember it. If it comes up, I'll bring it up. But
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
okay, so I'm going to be talking about a female serial killer.
Nice. Oh,
Her
that's kind of
name.
different.
That's the thing is like when you think of serial killer, at least for me,
Mm-hmm.
I automatically think man.
Right. Well, I think statistically, serial killers are
Statistically,
usually
men
men.
are yeah.
Yeah.
Statistically, men are more likely. But I also there's something like more ruthless about hearing about a female serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
Every female serial killer I've heard of, I'm like, ooh, God. Like
Wow. Well,
it's
I'm
it's like
excited.
more aggressive. So the person I'm gonna be talking about today is Genene Jones.
Okay. I
Also,
don't
her
know
name is
anything about her.
spelled dumb as fuck. I'm gonna spell it for you.
Okay.
Not normal Janine. It's Genene. Janine.
Oh, so she's like the Janine of, or she's like the banana of Janines.
What? That's not a thing. What do you mean? Oh, because
Yeah.
Banana.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
I was
any.
so confused. I was like, what do you mean the banana?
The
Am I
banana of
missing something?
Janine.
I got so worried. I was like, are you having a stroke? Like, oh, that joke went right over my head. Oh, man. So, Janine was born July 13th in 1950.
Oh,
There's
so
not a
this
lot
is
of.
like,
So, what's really weird is there's not a lot of info about Janine's early life. And that's
okay.
probably because no one gives a shit, because this lady is just straight up evil, okay?
Oh, okay. Okay.
So she was born in Texas.
Of
There
course
is
she is.
no exact thing. So some of my sources that I'm going to list here, and I'm also going to send them to you at the end. Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is Wikipedia.
Right.
Allthat'sinteresting.com, peoplepill.com, and if anything else pops up, I'll let you know.
Okay.
So she was born in the 1950s. So she's dirt old now, okay? She is still alive.
Oh, I was just
I
about to
will
ask.
say.
So you answered my question before I
She
asked
is
it.
indeed still alive. So, young in life, that's probably why a lot of people don't have a lot of details as to where she was born and all this stuff, is because she was actually adopted. So, when she was a
Oh.
kid, she was adopted by a nightclub owner and his wife. And when she got older, she actually worked as a beautician, cosmetician, whatever you want to say, before attending nursing school in the 1970s.
Okay.
So, when she was young, she married her high school sweetheart. She married him in 1968, and they were married until 1974. So, unfortunately, they did get divorced, and they had one child in that time. I don't know what happened there. Probably getting married to your high school sweetheart always doesn't work out the way you think it will.
Most of the time, yeah.
So, I would assume that's probably what was going on. Unfortunately, their relationship ended in divorce, and 3 years later, Jones and her husband got back together and they had another child in 1977. So they had two kids at this point.
Okay.
So unfortunately, at some point, just before her indictment, which I'll get into later,
Okay.
she decided to marry a 19-year-old nursing assistant
What?
who
I mean,
also
I guess that,
filed for divorce
I guess that's
against her
technically
too.
legal.
Oh, it's legal. It's not right. She was definitely, I think at that point she must have been mid to late 20s. So
Oh,
definitely
I
like
mean, like
there's
too
probably like a
old
good
then.
like almost 10-year age gap between them.
Listen, when I meet somebody who's 19 years old, I'm like, oh my god, you're a child.
Now I think that I'm only 24. Like I've gotten along with like 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds, and I'm like, oh my god, you're too young for me to be friends with you. That's not good. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've become that age, and she was like, I'm gonna marry him. Like
Yeah.
that's weird.
I mean,
There's also
you
not a
know,
lot of info anywhere. I could not find anywhere anything about her private life really because no one gave a shit. Like
wow.
she worked as a licensed vocational nurse at Bexar County Hospital, which is now called the University Hospital of San Antonio,
Okay.
in the pediatric intensive care unit during a specific amount of time. So it's about 1970 to 1982.
Okay.
So she worked there for a good amount of time,
Right.
and there was just a lot of stuff surrounding her. So I'm going to get into that.
All right.
When I said this lady was straight up evil, I mean she was straight up evil.
Oh, she worked in a
So,
pediatric ward, right?
yes.
Oh no. Okay.
Trigger warning, there is a lot of death and there is a lot of kid deaths in this story,
Oh.
unfortunately. So while she worked there, in a very small amount of time, a ton of children started dying in the ICU under her care specifically. The mysterious deaths kind of brought attention among her managers, her coworkers, everyone, and they eventually started calling her shift the death shift
Oh
because people
no.
were dying so much under her watch. And unfortunately, during this time, they had also noticed a trend. So anytime she worked a 3 p.m. to an 11 p.m. shift, more people were dying during that time than any other time. No one knows
Oh.
why. Maybe she had better access to things. It didn't take too long for people to start notice that something was going on because kids that were pretty healthy, other than obviously being in the fucking ICU, like they would be on the up and up, and then they would every night get worse and worse, and they were like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Wow. These poor kids.
Stable kids would stop breathing, their hearts would stop. Some kids, they were getting injected with their like nightly medicines, and once they were injected, their blood wasn't clotting, which wasn't an issue before.
Oh my god.
This became increasingly worse over time, and the deaths of these children obviously brought suspicion to everyone, not just Jones, but the hospital in general. And then eventually it became more obvious that it had something to do with her. Because they didn't want to be sued, they decided to remove her, but to prevent really bad press and being sued farther and all that, they refused to fire her
Ugh.
or report her to authorities. So they just decided to move her to a different department.
Oh god.
At the time, the hospital changed names. It discharged all of its licensed vocational nurses at the time to tell people like, oh, we're doing better, we're training these nurses better, we're checking their registration, we're making sure they're up to date. They just gave her a different job in a different part of the hospital.
Oh my god. That makes me
So
so mad.
she was never like specifically told that she was under suspicion. So she
Wow.
just didn't think anything of it. In this whole time, which you would never think that someone like this, or even if she had suspicion, people wouldn't be like, "Oh, I love her. She's great." She actually had like professional letters and recommendation letters. Still, even though people knew there was something going on, eventually she did choose to leave the hospital that she was working at, and of course, when she left, those deaths stopped.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So
Wow.
once she left and it stopped, they were like, okay, something's fucking wrong. And they launched an internal inquiry into it to figure out what was going on, and they found that at least 10 children had died while she was working.
Holy shit.
The hospital launched into an inquiry to kind of figure out what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
and it launched into a report that concluded, quote, this association of Nurse Jones with the deaths of the 10 children could be coincidental. However, negligence or wrongdoing cannot be excluded. So at this point, Jones was already not working for the hospital. The references that she, fortunately for her, but nobody else, she secured a different position at a different pediatric clinic 60 miles northwest of San Antonio in Careville, Texas.
Oh no.
Unfortunately, stuff started happening again. Illnesses, deaths of babies,
Oh,
everywhere,
that's awful.
wherever she went. This kept continuing, and Eventually, someone connected a case which involved Chelsea McLennan, which was a 15-month-old baby who arrived at the clinic for routine shots,
Oh
normal
no.
shots. Instead of administering the vaccine, Janine injected the child with
Okay, so
succinylcholine, which is a muscle
oh my god.
relaxant.
Oh, for a 15-month-old?
Yes.
Oh my god.
So she injected the child 3 times and it killed the child. This death was so specific because at this point they were like, with the ICU deaths, they were like, okay, this is suspicious, but like they're in the ICU. This is a
Right.
routine shot. Like,
Oh my
what
god.
is going, why did the child die all of a sudden?
Oh.
So this launched a giant investigation with a lot of testimonies regarding people testifying against her, being like, hey, she's fucking weird. Like, something's going on.
To be the parents of that child, I couldn't imagine.
Honestly,
I couldn't imagine.
in 1985, she did go to court for the death of Chelsea McLennan, the 15
15 month.
month old.
Okay.
She was sentenced to 99 years in prison.
Wow.
She was sentenced to a concurrent term of 60 years in prison for almost killing Rolando Santos. So I'm going to get into that.
Okay.
Right after she was charged for that, she was charged again for trying to kill 4-week-old
Oh,
Rolando Santos with a lethal dose of heparin, which is
oh,
a blood thinning
oh my
medication.
god.
So it caused massive bleeding in this kid.
Poor kid.
Luckily, the kid survived, but she was still found guilty of attempted murder.
Yeah.
So she, on top of her 99-year murder sentence, she received 16 more years, okay?
Good.
Which, good. Fucking terrible person.
Was there there was not chance for parole, was there?
No, no, no. So,
Good.
well, I'll get more into it. So, even though she had fucking, huge life sentences, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and she was actually scheduled to be released in 2018 due to Texas's mandatory release law. I wanted to talk about the mandatory release law for a second. From what I read, which I pulled up because it's hard to, I don't know, I'm not good at legalese,
Yeah, that's okay. That's
So
okay. Just do your best.
I'm going to read it word for word from Cornell Law School.
Yeah.
So, when a prisoner has been denied parole at the initial hearing and all subsequent considerations or parole consideration is expressly precluded by statute, the prisoner shall be released at the expiration of his or her imposed sentence, less the time deducted for any good time allowances. The good time thing adds to her sentence. So, if she does well in prison,
So
she
it's
gets,
basically she gets out for good behavior.
yes.
Oh my god.
This law, which wasn't a thing for very long, was kind of meant to help overcrowding,
Okay.
which, because a lot of prisoners aren't there because they murdered somebody.
Right, right,
So it was supposed to originally help people like that, people who had done drug stuff or whatever. It wasn't meant for murderers.
right.
At some point, once they had checked into this, they were like, okay, we're not going to let this lady go because she killed tons of children.
Yeah.
And they also knew that she had killed more. They just didn't have enough evidence to charge her for it.
Right.
So I'm going to tell you the number of kids that they suspect she killed and did not try to go to court for. Because I don't know if you know, I didn't realize this until recently, or I just didn't think about it this way. Say you have someone that killed 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
You charge them for 1 because you have evidence for 1. You don't charge for 5. Because if you charge for 5 and you don't have enough evidence, they can still
Right.
get free
Yeah,
because you
yeah.
didn't. So you might as well go for the lowest.
Right, right.
Because then they still get in jail. So
Yeah, no, no, no. That makes sense to me. I think I did know that without really realizing that I knew that.
yeah, so even though she was only charged for 2, they suspected she killed 60. She is
Oh my
probably the
god.
biggest serial killer in America,
Oh my
which
god.
is specifically ruthless because these are all children.
Children, yeah. Which talk about women serial killers, that is so counterintuitive because people always like, oh, a woman has a mother's intuition, and here she
Oh,
is
she didn't give a
murdering.
shit.
Yeah, no, 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 exactly. She was here murdering somebody else's
Children.
Holy shit.
It's just insane.
Oh my
And
heart
that's
is so
things that they
broken.
suspect, let alone not
Are you touching your
Local.
mic?
No, I was touching the cord.
Oh, I think I
It
can hear
fell.
I can
I
hear
know. I
the
have to
cord.
put it in my lap.
Oh, okay.
Um, at this point, they worked kind of hard to find more evidence for other killings because they didn't want her to go free in 2018.
Right.
As Nicholas LaHood, the district attorney for Bexar County, which is the county that she committed most likely most of her murders in, quote, he said, "Our intention is to hold her accountable for as many deaths as the evidence will support. But we have to have the evidence. So we will
Yeah.
continue to work within the confines of the law to do that. We're going to take one at a time. I am fairly confident we're not going to get 60 indictments on her, but we will get as many as the evidence supports." In May of 2017, she was indicted for the murder of Joshua Sawyer, who was a kid who had died mysteriously during her time in the Bexar County Hospital.
Okay.
He was just under a year old.
Oh.
He arrived in the ICU on December 8th, 1981. He was suffering from a coma at the time, and he had seizures due to smoke inhalation after a fire in his home.
Oh.
I mean, he wasn't in great shape, but
Right, but
he
still.
was doing well. He had brain activity,
Mm-hmm.
and he was showing that he was recovering. But within a few days, his seizures stopped, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, when he had come under Janine's care, his condition worsened. He had multiple cardiac arrests,
Oh my god.
and when they checked his lab reports, he had a dose of Dilantin, which is a anti-seizure drug,
Mm-hmm.
but it was more than double the prescribed dose.
Oh my god.
The following month, again, she was charged for the murder of Rosemary Vega, who is a 2-year-old child who had a congenital heart defect, who died of cardiac arrest after Jones gave her a shot.
Oh
And
bless.
this just kept going. So she had been charged with the murder of more children: Richard Ricky Nelson on July 3rd, 1981, Paul Valerial on September 24th, 1981, Patrick Zavala, January 17th of 1982, all children injected with muscle relaxers, painkillers that they had all found later. And at this time, she's still in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2020, as of right now, she's not getting out.
Good. Good. So my question, I don't know if they has she ever been like interviewed? Is there motive? What does she have to
she.
say about all this?
So I did find stuff before. I can't remember. Let me see if I can find it again. So from what I remember, when I first looked up, she has absolutely no remorse.
Oh, so she's like a
Oh, she doesn't give a
psychopath.
shit. There's also videos on YouTube of her too, by the way.
Wow.
So she pleaded guilty, by the way, of Joshua for the Joshua Sawyer murder because she wanted a plea agreement.
Mm.
So she has pled guilty to these things. I'm
Yeah,
trying
but
to
only for a
see.
plea deal.
Yep.
Wow.
Let me see
Wow.
if I can find what she said. And you can look it up and see like the families that had come to court to testify for their babies.
Yeah.
I will not repeat those things because it is so upsetting,
Yeah.
but a lot of it is just saying like my kid never got to live till 1 because of you.
Yeah. Oh, my heart is so broken. She
I
just was
can't.
like, I'm gonna be a nurse so that I can murder children. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's not like she wants, not like a normal person. It's like I want to help I want to help children because I love them. No. If you dig, if I find it, I'll link it again to you, but there was a
Okay.
snippet where she really does not care. She
Wow.
has never I can't
So
remember if
she
this
just like
is.
for shits and giggles, she was just like, yeah, I just killed kids. It's fine.
Yeah, she does not care.
Oh my god.
So some
That's
other
horrifying.
mentions of her, she was portrayed by Suzanne Rutten in the television movie Deadly Medicine, Alicia Bartia in the straight to movie Mass Murder in 2002. She was also on a Discovery Channel documentary, Lethal Injection, season 5, episode 10 of Forensic Files, season 1, episode 3 of British docu-series Nurses Who Kill, and a couple other things here and there. And some things are talked about, like Stephen King's Misery, if you've ever seen that movie or read that
Mhm.
book.
Mhm.
But yeah, she's just a straight up evil person.
Wow.
But that is I do have like one other thing. I wanted to read this. I don't know when she sent this letter. So, Genene Jones sent this letter to the Texas Board of Nursing. It's just I want to read it to you. I'm probably not going to keep it in, but I just
Okay.
wanted to. Dear Mrs. Sonnen, I am in the receipt of your letter, but in the total bafflement over its contents. What does the board have to do with me after almost 28 years of incarceration? My license was suspended approximately 5 years after my conviction. I have not applied for renewal in almost 30 years. That alone should have brought any matter concerning that license before the board's attention. It is ludicrous to begin to believe that the FBI has no idea where I've been the last 28 years with their vast electrical network. Anyone can Google and find out what they wish to know, though most is untrue. I do not have the information you request at my disposal, and you seem to have all the pertinent information. You obviously have my current address, since I am in receipt of this letter. As a response, I will take this opportunity to apologize to the board and to the nurses it represents for the damage I did to all of because of my crime. My only defense is that I was not of sound mind then or any time before 1994. That is not an excuse, just a fact. God, in his infinite wisdom and mercy, granted me a sound mind upon receiving him as Lord of my life. I look back now on what I did and agree with you that it was heinous, that I was heinous. But God's mercy is new every morning to remind me that I am forgiven by him. I pray that someday you will forgive me also. I have no plans to ever renew nursing in my lifetime or a license that I am sure, if your records go back that far, was revoked somewhere down the line of time. If you need any more of me, please let me know. Sincerely, Genene Jones.
Wow. You should keep that in. She sounds so sarcastic.
She is sarcastic.
I want to believe that there are like inmates out there who have turned to whatever religion, God or whatever
And they're like,
religion
fuck, I
thinks
fucked
them.
up. But
Yeah,
I
but
will
there
say,
are
like,
some people I
if you
don't.
watch videos of her, you can tell she doesn't give a shit.
Wow.
You can tell that is an evil lady. She is an
Wow.
evil, evil lady. Even if you look back at pictures of
Yeah.
her in the 80s and stuff, she just looks like she just doesn't care. She's just like, yeah, whatever.
Wow.
But I guess the board of nursing had requested something. I don't remember what it was because I can't find it.
Hmm.
But that was her reply back.
Wow. What a
That is the story of
bitch.
Genene Jones, the evil fucking lady.
Yeah. As somebody who cares for and has helped raise a, a girl who is like my daughter, she's not, but I love her all the same as though she were. I cannot for the life of me fathom how anybody could do that. Or even like on the flip side, I can't fathom if something ever happened to Brandy Lynn, I would be.
Especially a child. Like most of the kids that she was killing were even aware.
I know, like infants.
How are you mad at these kids? They don't even know what the fuck is going on.
She had two kids, right?
Yeah.
So it's not even like, well, if I can't have kids, nobody can have kids. It's like she had two of
Nah,
her
she was
own.
just nuts.
Wow. I wonder what
She
her
was
kids think
just
of all that.
I don't know. I couldn't find anything about her family. I'm pretty sure they probably just disowned her, to
Yeah, I
be
don't blame
real.
them.
What do you got for me?
Yeah, so I have some fun news today.
Oh,
So this first one is pertaining to the Playing for the Planet Alliance.
okay.
So back in December of 2019, depending on when you're listening to this, it was either this past December or further than
Mhm.
that. While brush fires were sweeping across California, players of mobile games by developer Space Ape Games. So that's some popular games are Rival Kingdoms, Transformers Earth Wars, and Fastlane Road to Revenge.
Okay.
They reached out to the developer and they wanted to know like, hey, what can we do to help? Now this is the Space Ape Games is London based.
Okay.
So people who play those games reached out to the devs and they were like, hey, what can we do to help these fires in California? And so Space Ape Games had put in-app in-app purchases into several of their big titles, like the ones that are
Oh, so that those purchases could go to like charity.
yeah, so all of those proceeds went to relief efforts, wildlife rescues, and humanitarian charities working in the California area. And in
That's really
4 days, they managed to raise over $120,000.
Holy shit.
Yeah, in 4 days.
Well, let's hope that keeps going.
So this initiative from Space Ape Games led to an industry-wide campaign for helping out the planet, just in general. So earlier this month, which is August 2020, some of the biggest names in mobile gaming unveiled a series of, quote, environmentally themed missions and messages that will be integrated into popular titles such as Angry Birds 2, Golf Clash, and Subway Surfers. The addition
Ooh.
the additions will encourage players to do things like combat climate change or protect endangered wolves. The initiative is part of a push by the United Nations Environmental Program, or UNEP, to work with game developers to raise awareness about pressing environmental issues. End quote. So this is important because here's the thing. So back in 2017, UNEP had done like a study and found that over 600 million people watched other people play video games on platforms like Twitch and YouTube, which is more than consumers of HBO, ESPN, and Netflix combined at the time.
Oh my god.
So, like, think about that for a second. In
That's a
2017,
lot.
HBO had Game of Thrones running, which
Yeah.
was the most
I guess that's
successful
true.
show in history. ESPN with all of the football and sports and going on, and of course Netflix speaks for itself. All of that was still shadowed by the amount of people who watch like Let's Plays and streamers and stuff like that.
That's
So
honestly surprising to me.
yeah, when I read that, I was like, "What the fuck?" I think the thing that gets me is because like HBO, especially at the time, did have still Game of Thrones running, which is like
Okay.
so. The goal for the Playing for the Planet Alliance is to put any fraction of that viewer base to work toward global environmental health, education, and change. The members of the alliance are, I'm going to list all of them off because there's some like small developers and then there's some like big
Okay.
ones that you'll recognize. So Bornholm Game Days, Creative Mobile, Eline Media, Google's cloud-based gaming platform called Stadia, Green Man Gaming, iDream Sky, Internet of Elephants, which is my favorite name,
Internet of Elephants?
Mag Interactive, Microsoft, Niantic, Pixelberry
Oh.
Studios, Playmob, Reliance Games, Rovio, Sony Interactive Entertainment, Space
Oh.
Ape Games, Sports Interactive, Strange Loop, Supercell, Cybo, Tigertron, Twitch, Ubisoft, and Wildworks.
I mean, there's a good, like, big name developers in there.
Yeah.
Huge.
So the Alliance had held a Green Game Jam earlier this year. I think it was in February or March. I think it was like right before the coronavirus like came to the US, like as a big thing. And it aimed to have players make personal commitments toward being more environmentally friendly. So not that they would have to like announce to the world, it's kind of like an honor system, but yeah, you can, you know, one of the things that I saw was like, don't eat meat on Mondays, or choose to ride your bicycle to work one day, or something like that. So that was kind of a cool thing that I saw, that like even now the video gaming industry is like, yeah, let's help save our own planet, you know?
Yeah.
Especially because like
A lot of these developers are based in California.
yeah. And the other thing that I read is like video gaming industry is the biggest source of like
Revenue?
well, no, not well, yes, revenue, but I was thinking like of like electronic waste. Like they just like put out
Oh, okay.
their carbon, like the video game industry's carbon footprint is gigantic in like a very bad way. So the fact that the video game industry is now starting
It's
to take
trying to take.
a serious look at that
Yeah.
and trying to move forward in building a better tomorrow as far as environmental health and education, nice. Mwah, I love it.
Honestly, that's awesome.
So, news number 2. EA announced on August 18th, so that was like a little bit like last week, that EA Play, which was previously known as EA Access, would be coming to Steam on August 31st.
Woo.
Now, this service is already available on Xbox One, PS4, and PC through Origin, which is EA's storefront platform. And this was actually a long time coming because they announced that the service would be coming back to Steam back in 2019.
Oh, okay. So it's been a while.
Yeah. So subscribers to the service have access to some of EA's biggest titles, deals on certain games, and early access to upcoming releases. The base price is $4.99 a month or $29.99 a year, and premium is $14.99 a month or $99.99 a year, and that plan is what includes the early access to upcoming releases.
Yeah, honestly. That's really cool, though.
So that will be coming to Steam again on August 31st. So when this episode releases on the 28th, that'll be on this coming Monday as you're listening to this, if you're listening to it as it comes out. So I have a bit of an update for the Apple versus Epic Games drama.
Oh, please indulge me.
So just to recap, last week we had talked about the Apple versus Epic, and I don't think we said this last week, but this is also Epic is suing Apple, but they're also suing Google. But because Apple made such a big deal about it, that's what's really taking over kind of like the news and the Twitter sphere. So, as part of a recap, Epic put a purchase plan in their app which bypassed Apple's purchase plan, and then then Apple turned around and removed that because it violates their terms of service. And then, even faster than that, Epic responded by filing a blockbuster antitrust lawsuit by claiming that Apple, I should say, places illegal restrictions on the distribution of iOS apps. So, and I actually heard this at the guys over at the Players 2 podcast, because I like listening to them explain the situation really succinctly. And they had basically said Epic wasn't suing Apple because Fortnite was removed from the Apple Store. Epic had Fortnite removed so that they could sue Apple.
Dang.
Yeah, that's why they responded so quickly.
They were like, and here you go.
Exactly. So, since the last time we talked about this, Apple has come out and said that Epic will be facing catastrophic consequences if the Fortnite developer doesn't comply with the rules it has in place. So, Apple has threatened to move Epic from the developer program if it does not, quote, cure your breaches in the app. Which sounds like inclusion in the developer program is required in order to host apps in the iOS App Store. So this has also kind of had I don't know if it was an unforeseen side effect, but it's definitely a side effect on the Unreal Engine and anyone who develops in the Unreal Engine, even if they don't have a stake in this lawsuit. Because, quote, denying Epic access to Apple's SDK and other development tools will prevent Epic from supporting Unreal Engine on iOS and macOS. And will place Unreal Engine and those game creators who have built, are building, and may build games on it at a substantial disadvantage. So basically, how that basically reads and what that's basically saying is people who are developing in Unreal Engine, even though Unreal Engine in and of itself, as an engine, as the people who work in it, even if they're not under Epic Games, they won't be able to operate under Apple's developer tools. Well, that creates a problem for people, or for companies like Microsoft, because
not to interrupt, but I got a text just now from Eric that said, white people taco night.
What?
Said white people taco night.
Why?
Have you ever seen that video?
No.
Okay, let me find it for you.
Send it to me, okay. So this affects anybody who's using Unreal Engine, even if they're not directly involved in this lawsuit, because it will be halting support for the games that use that engine, which includes the game Microsoft has coming out here soon, Forza.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. So Epic, on their end, has filed for a preliminary injunction, effectively asking the court to stop retaliation from Apple against Epic. And as of today, when we're recording this, Apple declined to comment on the injunction from Apple.
Oh, of course it did.
So that's where we stand. That's the update on the Apple versus Epic.
And we'll keep you guys updated as this shit unfolds.
Yeah, basically.
Because
So
it's
then,
just going to keep getting worse, I feel.
yeah, basically. So the next, it's a small piece of news, but back on the 22nd, Rocksteady Studios announced a Suicide Squad game. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Yes, I saw the trailer.
So I have not actually played any DC games,
I might have. I just can't think of it.
but
It
it's
looked good.
yeah, no, it looked good, and this is like something people are hyped about. So that is set to come out in 2022 on PlayStation 5, Windows PC, and Xbox Series X.
2022. Sorry.
So that's far away from now.
It is, but something.
The last little bit that I have is
Mm-hmm.
that back on the 18th, Nintendo had its Nintendo Indie World Showcase.
Yay.
And so I'm just going to go through a list of the games that were showcased from that. I'm actually really excited about this one from Super Giant. This game is called Hades, and it's a godlike roguelike dungeon crawler.
Oh, I saw things about this.
Yes, it looks so good.
It looks really cool.
Yeah. So this is the same people who did Bastion and Transistor, which has been people rave about those two games. So I'm sure that this one's going to be just as good. The next one is Raji, an ancient epic. This intense action-adventure game is set in ancient India and inspired by Hindu and Balinese mythology, and it was developed by Nodding Heads Games and Super.com, which is also a developer based in India. Spiritfarer, or as you like to say, Spitfarer, was also announced, and it is, as you said, Stella is her goal is to help the spirits of the deceased make their way into afterlife by transporting them across the seas on a handcrafted ferry. And that is by Thunder Lotus. So this one, the Untitled Goose Game, isn't like a new game, but they are introducing 2-player update for the game, which has been widely popular, and that will be starting on September 23rd.
Okay.
So from Adam Robinson Yu and Whippoorwill, A Short Hike is looks like it's a kind of pixely game, and it looks like it is like a walking sim.
Interesting.
Torchlight 3 from Perfect World Entertainment and Extra Games.
Okay.
The lighthearted, fast-paced dungeon crawler sequel to the critically acclaimed action RPG Torchlight 2. So
Interesting.
From Oink Games Inc., Takashi and Hiroshi. It's a stop-motion game where a 14-year-old aspiring game designer, his goal is to entertain their little brother with the latest chapter of the game that they're developing. And so you play like the story sequences, and then you play the games that Takashi is developing in the game. It's like a game.
Interesting.
The trailer for that game is actually super cute and really interesting. It definitely caught my eye. I was like, that's different. Hypnospace Outlaw. It's a 90s internet simulator.
Okay.
Which, like, if you look at it, like all of it looks like a really badly put together 90s internet website.
Of course. That's the only way to have a 90s website is god awful.
So the developers for this one are Tendershoot, Mike Lash, The Witches Media, Xavier Nelson Jr., and No More Robots. From Developer Digital and Nereal is Card Shark. Basically, it looks like kind of hand-drawn, and you basically learn to cheat at card games in 18th century France.
What? I didn't know that was the thing I needed until now.
It's so funny.
That's interesting.
Yeah, if that's another one you should look up the trailer for too, because it looks really interesting.
That's so weird.
And that is
what a weird thing to be like, you know what this world needs?
That. Exactly.
That's good. That's flavor.
Yeah, exactly. So the next one is from William Chair Studio LLC. It's called Manifold Garden, and it's actually already like a mobile game. But from everything I've seen at it, it's actually going to be better on the Switch because when you have the Switch dock, you can look at it like on the big screen. The opinion that I get again from Players 2 podcast is that game will just benefit from it because this game is like a puzzle game where you interact with the world and you move the screen to make the world kind of do like line up in different ways because it's one big optical illusion.
Interesting.
So it looks really cool. I'm really excited about this one. And it's already out on mobile.
Okay.
From Unknown Worlds Entertainment, Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero, which already exists, I believe.
Yeah, I've played Subnautica.
Yeah, so it will be on the Switch in 2021. So the next one looks like it's Legend of Zelda and like an OG Pokemon inspired. It's called Garden Story from Picogram and Rose City Games. And it's just like a cute little world where you rebuild the community as Concord, which is a newly appointed guardian of the Grove. And yeah, it looks really cute, and it definitely looks Zelda and Pokemon inspired.
Okay. I like that
OG Zelda
vibe,
and
though.
OG Pokemon, yeah.
It's a good vibe. It's a comfortable vibe.
It's like I don't, from what I can tell, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of combat or bosses or anything. It's just like a chill, kind of like Animal Crossing or Stardew
Like,
Valley.
have a good time, man. Whatever
Yeah,
you
you
feel
can
like.
sit back and chill and vibe and live your life. So the next one from Stone Lantern Games and P-Cube Limited is Evergate. It's a 2D puzzle platformer set in the afterlife in which players control a childlike spirit on a journey through life, death, space, and time. So that one seems really
It
nice.
sounds like something I'd play, honestly.
Yeah, I have been more interested in platformers lately than I used to be.
Same, and I used to think they were boring, and now we're just old, so.
maybe that is it. So Bear and Breakfast from Gummy Cat Studio and Armor Game Studios. It sounds exactly what you think it does.
Okay.
It's a bear running a bed and breakfast.
Okay. To be a bear running a bed and breakfast.
Exactly.
To be real.
And those were the games that were announced at Nintendo's Indieworld Showcase. So I'm actually pretty excited about some of these titles. Some of these I'm like, but the Garden Story and Manifold Garden, Card Shark, what was the other one? Spiritfarer and Hades. Those are the ones that I am like, yes, I'm ready.
I'm very excited for things that are coming out.
And that, my friend, is all that I have in news and gaming.
Well, thank you for sharing. There's more than I thought there would be this week, honestly.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was just that there was that update with the Apple versus Epic.
Man, that's going to be a roller coaster every week, I feel like.
Yeah, so
we'll see.
We'll both have to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, honestly. But please check out Angel's hard work at ghoulgaminggals.com.
Yeah. And
by the time this comes out, the Patreon should be up.
Ooh, yay! I'm so excited. And there'll be a link to the Patreon on our website, so you can look for that. And if you want to follow us on social, it is Instagram and Twitter and possibly Facebook, although who can say at this point? You can search for us at Google. Why did you laugh like that? You can search Ghoul Gaming Gals and you'll definitely find us. You can follow Janelle's Twitch at Janel Nelly.
And you can follow Angel's Twitch at Arium Aquila, which is AUREUMAQUILA.
And then you can listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts, which includes iHeartRadio. Spotify is the most popular. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the whole lot.
A lot. And if you ever have suggestions, now you can submit it on our website, or you can just email us at ghoulgaminggals@gmail.com. And that could be for suggestions, listener stories, anything you want. And yeah.
So thanks for podcasting with me again this week, even though we're both tired as fuck.
Yeah, but we love each other. And we love all of you. So, have a good week, everybody. And when this comes out, it'll be the weekend again. So,
that's always
have a good weekend. Party it up. And next weekend, it'll be Labor Day weekend.
3-day weekend, baby.
Hell yeah, baby. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.